Join us for another episode where real men have real conversations about leadership, relationship, morality, and dominion. Welcome to Mancode.
Hello, Mancode viewing audience. I'm excited to welcome you back again. My name is Jonathan Russell. As always, thank you for joining the Mancode podcast. We always have conversations that just spark things that are revolving around what is going on in our world. We're hoping that actually sparks a dynamic in yours. It just gets you more tuned in and locked in our conversation. But before I get too far, let me go ahead and let my brothers introduce themselves.
What's happening? Malcolm Crawford.
What's going on, everybody? Austin McMurray, glad to be back again.
Yes. Welcome back, everybody. Daniel Lewis.
Thank y'all, gentlemen. This is an exciting time tonight because we actually are up on our season 2 wrap up. So I'm really going to call this a wrap up because we'll be back again unpacking another one to you. But again, we just want to thank everybody just rocking with us this season. We've had great conversation. We've actually touched on all of our points. You know, the Mancode is about leadership, it's about relationship, it's about morality, and it's about dominion. We hit leadership talking about our comparison dilemma. We hit the relationship on our brotherhood piece. We hit dominion on our broken family concept. Now tonight, we're going to hit our morality piece. And I want to really kind of throw this out because a lot of times, you know, things happen and everybody can see from the title, but it's really, so you messed up, now what? So again, that's always evolving around messing up in a relationship, stepping outside of the boundaries that have been laid. But I don't really want to get too far into that because we're going to have a real good discussion around it. But really throwing this out, in a relationship, whether man, woman, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife, what really counts as cheating? That's a wide open door. So let's bring some dynamics to that first.
I'm going to defer because I have a lot to say on this. I want to hear from you.
You should go first then.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and hit it. Well, first of all, I love this question because what defines cheating? Basically, I look at it 2 different ways. If you're in a legal marriage ordained by God, that's the higher level. Now, if you just want to say cheating is where someone defrauds or tricks you, deceives you, manipulates you, or if since we're doing a relationship, go outside of that particular relationship and have an affair or have a relationship with someone else. Okay, yeah, if you want to call that cheating, I would say, that could be cheating if you both agreed on that. But technically, if you're not married and you have a legal covenant that's ordained by God, I don't think it's cheating because I don't think you really beholden to that person, personally, myself. But if you sat down together with that particular person that you're with and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I know we're not, let's just say this, I know we're not married, but we're going to set these boundaries, these regulations, and we're going to call this cheating or stepping out. But technically, I wouldn't call it cheating. I think back when I was, back in the day, I was at the barbershop. Guys talk at the barbershop, man. There's one barber said, man, everybody's sharing. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's sharing. And that was his perception. And that's how people think in the world, per se. So as far as cheating, if you're not legally married to someone, I wouldn't say, no, I wouldn't give that too much credence. But let me also say this. You can be in a relationship, technically legally married, and you may not have actually have had a fornication. You stepped out and had, legal relationships, but you can actually cheat in your mind. Jesus talks about this. If you look on a woman in a certain way with lust and so forth, you already committed the act. You see, so there's different levels to this thing, and that's what I would say cheating is. I don't condone if you're in a relationship of whatever, however you define it, as we're supposed to be unique to ourselves. I don't condone that either way. But the point is, I don't put too much into that unless you're legally married by God as far as cheating. So that's my take on that. I see Danielle smiling. I know he's
right. I'm waiting on Danielle.
Yeah, I'm about to say, what's cooking on the plate?
I'm waiting on Danielle.
So I'll go. So I think one of the big things is that people are not defining what type of relationship they're in. I think the type of relationship you're in denotes whether or not what my actions are is considered to be cheating or not. So what I'm saying is that if I am dating someone, and everybody has a definition of defining what dating actually is. My definition of dating is that two individuals agreeing to go to an event or eating place in order to get to know one another. And so it's a getting to know each other stage. We're dating. If we're saying that we're exclusive, when we're changing the dynamics of the relationship, and we're saying, okay, I'm saying that I'm not going to go and date anyone else. I'm not going to go out and look to find who else is out there that I potentially want to be connected to. And I'm telling you that we are exclusive. I'm only going to be seeing you. And I step out on her after letting her know what the terms of that relationship is, then that's cheating to me. Because I'm telling her that I'm only going to be dating you. I think when you get to that stage, though, you're looking for somebody as a life partner. I think you are looking for something here. I want to see where this actually goes. I want to take everybody else off the menu, so to speak. And I'm going to basically give all my energy and attention to this person because I think this may be wifey material. Okay, it may not be, but I'm taking it off until it proves otherwise. If you are in a covenant relationship, when you get to marriage, most assuredly, because you're in a covenant relationship, and if you step out on her, then you're cheating because you're violating the covenant that you cut with her. And so I think it's the type of relationship that you have determines whether or not it is cheating or not.
Can I ask you a question before you go on, before Austin jumps in? So when you're dating, before you get to that next step as a covenant, so if she just flirts a little bit, or, before she actually engages with someone else, would you constitute that as cheating?
Are we dating?
Yes, you're in the dating stage.
Then I have no say.
Oh, got you. Okay, cool.
I have no say. We haven't made a verbal commitment towards one another, saying that we are not going to see someone else.
I got you.
I think that's what's missing most times in relationships is that people don't clarify what the stage of the relationship is, and they automatically assume because we went out a couple of times that we are in a committed relationship, but nobody has actually made that commitment.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. I would say I just kind of feel like, and I'm coming from my perspective from an age thing, right? Like I feel like my generation of men, right? We try to find as many excuses to keep as many women around as possible sometimes, right? And so I think for us, right, like we know the mindset of a woman in my dating history, right? I know the mindset of a woman. I've talked to women throughout my life, and most of it is like once you enter a relationship, it's exclusive, right? It's like nobody else should be involved, right? And so I guess the way I would define it is like, if you do something outside of whatever relationship you're in, and and I guess you have a fear to the backlash of your actions, then I think that's considered as cheating. Like, if you would have just got a girlfriend, for example, and you entertain somebody else on the side, you're doing that in secrecy because if you get caught, it's a wrap for you. Your girl gonna go off on you, whatever. So I guess that's kind of how I would define cheating is like if there's like that guilty conscience a part of doing an act, then I think at that point it's cheating because it ain't right in your head. So, okay. And I'm talking about this head, okay. This head.
Let me say something else. Okay, so you're in a marriage, and I've heard that they have these open marriages where the couple is determined, as Daniel was saying, that we set the standards. Okay, we got an open marriage, and we can, I just call it out like Will and Jada had an open marriage. Okay, would you guys say because they both agreed to that, was that cheating? Yeah. And then yeah. Okay, and then when the one thing came in, when the young fella came in, and it really exploded. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's cheating because in that particular example, there is still some emotional hurt there because it's like my wife fooled around with somebody else. So absolutely, yeah, that's cheating. And you can do what you want to say that is not, or we agreed to it, but at the end of the day, that open marriage is kind of an attack on your pride. And I feel like I could be wrong. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like no man has the emotional maturity to be in an open relationship or
okay. So I'm gonna let Dr. Jonathan go in a second. I'm sorry. So if his feelings didn't get hurt,
Get on it. Get on it.
So if his feelings didn't get hurt, it's not cheating. He just a little, as I know some people would say, just kind of touchy. Okay.
You said if his feelings
if his feelings hadn't gotten hurt, okay.
I personally think it's still cheating, but you know, that's up for debate.
I'm tracking with him.
Because I was just getting ready to say, if the two individuals come together and make a decision that their relationship is going to be a certain way, and both individuals are walking into it, regardless of whatever they may feel as a result of doing it, but they both went into it knowing what the other one was going to do. You can't cheat on somebody when you know that that's what they are agreeing to do.
I got you.
It's impossible. A person cheating is somebody who is doing something. If we're playing cards and I got cards up under the table and I'm winning, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, man, he had cards up under the table. Everybody at the table is pissed at me because I'm hiding something under the table. But if I said, you know what, everybody can put cards up under the table, you know, during the whole game. So everybody, oh, that's what we're doing? That's what we're doing? All right, bet. So everybody now is playing the game the way that everybody understands it, and nobody is salty if somebody basically wins because everything is on the table.
All right, so it's just there's no deception, there's no deceit and all that type of stuff. I'm sure.
Right. Now, I'm not saying there's no damage. I'm not saying that by doing
no deception or deceit.
Right.
Gotcha.
I would call that infidelity.
Yeah.
It may not be cheating, but you're still breaking the covenant and you're still causing emotional scars, whether you agree to it at the moment are happy with it or not. That's going to come back to bite you in some kind of way.
It will.
So I don't see, I know some couples may look at that as like a safe out to keep them from getting outside of it. But to be honest with you, that's a Pandora's box to me.
It is.
So it's like once you tasted of the nectar of that water, you won't always want that. Right. And it's not going to always be something that you might agree to. So
nor can you control.
I view that as just a danger zone.
Yeah, I'm saying, and also, nor can you control how far your partner goes in that. You may be only thinking one person. They're like, well, you open the door. So now I'm like stepping out and I got like 4 or 5 or 6. So now you actually starting to feel jilted because, you know, what you thought was actually a small parameter, and that person took it as I got a blank check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, while we on this is good. Y'all put your hats on for this one. Does our society lower the standard when it comes to side relationship and extramarital affairs? I mean, is it kind of like a pass given, and we just kind of like had this loose standard? Let's rap about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think millennials brought it in.
That's not true. That's not true.
Always been around.
That's not true. That's
I go. Y'all hit it.
Because look, because for millennials, our grandads and great granddads had a lot of kids rolling around from women that wouldn't know why.
And my pops was one of them. My pops was a Rolling Stone, and I got all kinds of brothers and sisters.
I said we just exposed it.
What I'm saying is you guys culturalized it. You guys made it. You guys made it a norm.
Agree.
You guys made it a norm. You made it acceptable for people to have a side piece. You made it acceptable for the conversation now to be something that we could talk around the table with instead of it being a side thing that I talk to my boy with. Now you got females and males who have that understanding that this is the kind of relationship that I want, and everybody is cool with it. That's really more what I'm referring to. Is that it became socially acceptable.
Yeah, I agree. And like in a lot of music today too, it's like there's a lot of glorifying of actually being the side piece, mm-hmm. which is like weird to me, right? It's this one song where she says, you got Monday through Friday, but I'll take them on the weekend. Like she the weekend girl, right? And it's just so crazy to me how, like you said, it's become like a culture that we glorify, that we, I guess, acknowledge, that we give rise to, right? And I think the expectation of a lot of people now is to have a side piece. So it's like now on the internet, you see posts be like, you know, shame on you if you mad at your man for cheating. That's just the way that the world we live in now. Every dude got a side piece. Or, you know, well, you ain't cooking for him, you ain't cleaning for him, what would you expect him to do? Or you not his shoulder to cry on, of course he gonna go to another woman. It's just like always those outs to always have some kind of relationship with somebody else.
Yeah. Pastor Malcolm, they used to call him back in the day, what, the cleanup woman? That's what that song was?
Betty Wright.
Right.
Hey, if you can't be with the one you love the one you with.
The one you with. So like these songs that we're talking about, we know that it was in the culture. We know that, you know, but it was always kind of like it was literally a side thing, you know what I'm saying? And they kept it, men having two families, and you know what I'm saying, you know, that all those things were. But now I think I've seen like shows where people are literally entering into relationships and bringing more women into the relationship, and all of the women, because if we look at it based on the word, it said that this time was coming, that women will be okay with sharing one man. You know, the word said that, you know, that if they can get a part of a name, they were good with it, because being by themselves sucked. You know what I'm saying? Being by themselves made them not feel whole. And so if I can get part of one, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Jonathan, were you going to chime in? Because I want to give you a break before I jump in.
No. I'm going to let you roll with this.
Okay. Well, you know, the short answer is, yeah, of course. You know, but here's the deal, man. Society has no standard. If you talk about society, man, there's no standard. You can get so low. There's a word called depravity, man. You know, you be afraid. I mean, it can get so low. So, you know, we don't have a standard, man. You know, so like I said, the short answer is no. And I wouldn't even, you know, think too much about that. But because there are some cultures too, like different religions and so forth, they allow for certain husbands and, you know, to have so many wives and so forth. But that's a different dynamic. So therefore, you know, we all know what the highest standard is. God has a standard. So, you know, so we know that it is not his standard. We know that everything's going to come beneath. It's not going to be right. It's going to be some version. It's not just going to be right. But like you say, I'm like Brother Austin. Hey, you know, we had some grandparents, great-grandparents, you know, that it's just more public now. Our stuff is out more so in the open. I'm so glad that when I was coming up, we didn't have all this social media, man, you know, because, it was crazy. Because my granddad used to tell me, I never forget, because he used to laugh at me because I was kind of a fun-loving guy. Let's put it like that. He called me. He said, "You just like my Uncle Roland." Every time his Uncle Roland's wife got pregnant, his girlfriend got pregnant, as you were alluding to earlier. See, so those two household families. You see, he had like 18 kids. Every time his wife got pregnant, his girlfriend got pregnant, and they had those two families, and it was standard. You know, I don't know how they kept it hush or whatever they did with it. But it was not uncommon to have, things like that going on. So to your point, yeah, man, society has no standard. You just, it might get worse, as Danielle was alluding to, but the standard is just so low. Yeah.
Y'all hit that well, because Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. So these things have always taken place, but it's just now it's a little bit more glorified. You know, women brag about their sport coats. You know, men brag about their side dish. So it's one of those things that's almost like a trophy. And it's almost as if you're looked at like you're crazy if you're not. I've had brothers come up to me in that sense to kind of look at me funny, because there have been opportunities they see me pass up, and it's like, man, I'm married and I'm happy. And on top of that, God's watching me. So it is a thing. You said it best. So standards are so low that it's really a time for redefining them. And that's really where moral men come in, and just really looking at what you're doing, how you're doing it, and really what you want. And that's really, at the end of it, that's really all it is. What you want, but in the right way. Now, keeping on this line of thought, and it really depends on really where you are in it, but what are some of the reasons people give to cheat in a relationship? I mean, is any reason really justified, but are there really some good reasons that we can come up with that make you maybe think like, I don't know, I might give you that one?
So I don't think there's any justified, but you ask what reasons people give. So when I was getting married, my father told me there was an 80-20 rule in marriage. He said that you'll get 80% of what you want and 20% you won't get. And so whatever your 20% is, that's typically people end up, seeking for or searching for, because they're looking for the whole 100%. So if it was, if your husband is in a high capacity, position, and he is basically, outside of the home and traveling, and he's not at home, and you're basically wanting somebody to give you attention, then you're looking for that 20% somewhere. Somebody to pay you a compliment, somebody to, take you out, things that you're not getting that you actually need, vice versa. He's on the road, doing a lot of traveling. He's not at home. He's basically looking for affection because he's not at home. It's not the fact that he may have been taking the opportunity to go out and do that, but because of time and situation, it presented itself as an opportunity or as a solution. And so, when I think those are sometimes reasons why people actually do that.
Go ahead, Austin, because I tell you, I was looking forward to this tonight. So I want to hear from you, man. Go ahead.
Tonight.
I say we're gonna let him close this one out. But I think one thing that I would say is I guess like thinking about it from like a sexual standpoint, right? Like, say you used to be with a woman who used to do one thing sexual that your current woman doesn't do, then you tend to miss that, right? It's like, man, I missed that. I need to find somebody who can do it. I think pornography also is a reason why men tend to step out, because it creates like this warped like reality, I guess this fake reality of what kind of sexual interactions that you can't have with a person, right? And so it's like your current mate is not giving you that, so you want to go find it in somebody. And then I think just not being I guess secure in your emotions as well. Like something hurts you, your girlfriend, your wife, whoever didn't ask you the questions that you wanted to ask. And then at work, somebody walk up to you. I heard a guy reference them as cooler conversations. You're sitting around at the water cooler at work, and that woman asks you a question that your wife or your girlfriend has never asked you before. And all of a sudden it's like, man, she's giving me what I need. And so now like you're vulnerable to your emotions and you're giving into that. So I think, I mean, it's a lot of reasons why men cheat. Are they justified? No, but it's a lot of reasons why, for sure.
You guys are nailing this. And I'm like you guys, man, you could go, this question be how much time do you have? The root of the problem is just that sin nature. That's the root of it. But we can justify, like I say, well, hey, I'm not happy at home. Like to me, like you guys said, hey, I'm not getting what I need. I'm not pleased. Sexual desires unfulfilled. Whatever. You just want a reason to get out. All those types of things might come into play. You're feeling neglected and all those types of things. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to a lot of times, the lack of commitment, as you say, going out, and the infidelity, no trust, no wanting to honor God, and things like that. You can get back to those types of things where if you're not spiritual, that's not going to be a part of it. But you're in a covenant relationship where you say you guys both are Christians, you love God. And my thing is, if you're really trying to honor God, those things will help you stay on the right track, because you want to make sure that He's pleased. We all know that. We know what sin is. People are not stupid, man. They know when they're doing wrong. You can be a moral person, but you know that you're not supposed to be having sex outside of marriage and all that stuff at the end of the day. So however you want to slice and dice it, if I need some more variety. At the end of the day, a lot of brothers say, I can't help it. I just can't help myself, man. Baby doll was looking so fine, and I just, man, I tell you, because I was, if you want to go back to George Clinton, that famous song, right? It's that dog in me, brothers, they talk so much stuff, hey, how it is. And we just gonna keep it real, man. Hey, man, it's a dog in me, man. She wanted, I had to give it to her. I had to please her, man. That's why I was sent here, man. People, brother, talk so much stuff. And I was in that camp. I would talk so much stuff, man, just lie through my teeth. And it's just because it's at the root. You have that sin nature just manifesting itself. You know what I'm saying? It's just all coming out. So that's why I'm really so glad I'm all in, man, because at the end of the day, man, you can't win. You can't win.
Yeah, and I say this, like, I guess putting the responsibility like on us as men in this conversation. I think, unfortunately, that's something that's kind of been ingrained in us as men, right? Because we've heard from, older men, our uncles, whoever, right? To try to get as many women as you possibly can. And we've been encouraged to get as many women as we possibly can. And like one of my examples that I love to give is like, you know, being a young guy growing up, you know, a lot of times young men hear, oh, you in kindergarten, right? Like, oh, you so handsome. I bet you got all the girls at your school, don't you? And so you hear that at a young age, and that continues to stay in your mind. So it's like the mindset is like, all right, I got to get as many women as possible. And so like the concept of like being committed to one woman is never really taught to us sometimes, even in church, like even in like youth groups, for example, like the conversation of like sex and relationships is not something that's normally had, right? So we get to these points in our lives where we found this woman that we love, or, you know, our thing is getting hard and we having these feelings we never had before, but no one from a spiritual perspective has ever had this conversation with us. So now it's like we dealing with all this stuff that we don't know what to do with it. So where do we turn to? We turn to society, we turn to the world, we turn to outside influences, and unfortunately those influences aren't always the best for us. So,
and that's good. We just get a lot of bad information. And I want to just throw this point in too. We talk a lot of times about how our older brothers, our older fathers and uncles, and, you know, try to teach us about women and all this too. But you got a lot of women, I know some of you might have heard this, that some women, you know, try to put the young fellas up, as they would say, up on game because they know about a woman and how to get a woman and all that type of stuff. You got women that will school a young fella and say, hey man, this is how this is happening. You know, if you can learn how to, you know, talk and know what they like, you know, that's part of it, you know. And some guys are at that smooth tongue, you know what I'm saying? And then you got, like you got some women out here too that's pretty shrewd too, you know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Shrewd is an understatement, Pastor Bob.
So, you know, just listening to you guys, it's just you have other dynamics as well. Like, for instance, you have, you know, generational, the sins of your forefathers, you know, you could track my line down, and my grandfather, my father, you know what I'm saying? You know, I had to catch it and be intentional about not giving attention or giving in to what was actually happening, because it was happening in my world, but I didn't know what it was, you know. And so when I realized what it was, and I said, one thing I made a commitment to was that I never was going to step out on whoever I was in covenant with, because I didn't want to do what my father did to my mother. And so it wasn't the fact that I wasn't aware that it was there. It was the fact that I didn't want to create the damage that I saw that it created in the life of my mother and my father. You know, but my point basically saying that is that sometimes there are generational things that men are dealing with that they don't realize that it's something generational, something I need to break. It's something in the generation that if I don't sever it in my generation, then my sons will have to deal with the same thing that my father and his forefathers dealt with.
Exactly, man. That's good. And like most of us, even before I came into the word, I had no knowledge of what a generational curse was. You know, a curse was. You know, just lack of knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Yeah. But you know, one thing, you made a nice point here, a very good point, that we don't sometimes we make light of this subject. Like, oh man, it's okay to be a womanized and all this type of stuff. But if you look at it, man, if you see all the devastation that takes place when people cheat, as you say, how the children are affected, all the residual, you know, effects on the whole family and so forth, relationship, marriages are broken, dissolved, and all those types of things. Because we know at the end of the day, you know, if people don't stay together, or if they stay together because for whatever reason, sometimes that home is in disarray or whatever, you know, you got these undercurrents, things are not, you know, going good, and the kids can sense that too. And if you're a young man in the house and you know that your dad is, let's say, messing around and comes home late all the time, and you know something's going on once you get to a certain age, you're not crazy, and so you know those types of things. But yeah, we can give a multitude of reasons, you know, why men cheat or why women cheat. You know, I tell you.
But I think one of the bigger things is that communication. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think at the end of the day, if the two individuals communicated, like, you know, we were alluding to the fact of watching porn, but she's not, you know, performing in the way that I see on these movies and stuff like that. I know that some women probably don't want to do certain things that they see on these particular things, but I think every woman wants to be in a position where she pleases her husband. I don't think any woman is never in that position. And I think that having a conversation about your sex life, exploration, what are you willing to try? What aren't you willing to try? Having a conversation and then building up your relationship around in those areas. Sometimes we don't have those crucial conversations in our covenant relationships that could probably fix the problems that we go out and try to fix ourselves. Men are usually closed in and try to deal with it ourselves versus going outward, because I think sometimes we are ashamed of what it is that we have a desire for, and we think that they probably won't even be down for it, or we don't even want to present it to them. So that means we think less of the person that we go get, because we think that person that we are with is, we hold that person in high esteem.
Can I ask a question, John? You mind if I ask a question?
Go ahead.
It's funny you said what you said, Danielle, because I was having a conversation with a group of friends about this the other day, how the conversation of sexual exploration is never had with us at a young age, right? It's never had with us, like I said, in church. And then we go off, we get married and everything. And now sexual exploration is this thing that we should just know how to do now. And it makes it, and we said this example specifically for like people who grew up in the church, it can tend to, and somebody made a status about this actually, it could tend to make sex uncomfortable in marriage for a lot of people who grew up in the church, because the conversation of sexual exploration was never had. So is there appropriate place in church with youth leaders, with pastors, with sex education people, whatever? Is there an appropriate place in the church to have that conversation?
I would say that premarital counseling, I would say marriage ministry. I think those are great places to introduce those conversations, because now you are having a conversation in the construct of going into a covenant or being in a covenant.
Mm-hmm.
I will add to that. I think if you give that information out too soon, you're just going to actually uncover something that you're going to want to delve into. So right. I think as far as youth are concerned, you really have to be careful with that, because, I grew up in church, but at the same time, we still found our way around everything else. So if you want to find it, it's there for you. If you want to get into it, it's there to jump in. So I don't think it's really a appropriate time with someone that's under 18 or someone that's just learning themselves dating, because again, even in being helpful, sometimes you can impart the wrong impression, you can impart the wrong idea, and you'll create an appetite, because the appetite's already there. You're trying to teach them how to actually control that until the proper moment and know when to give it. But if I give you all the ammunition and you don't know how to shoot the gun, you're gonna hurt yourself or somebody else. So that's just how I kind of look at that.
And I would say, go ahead, Pastor Malcolm.
I would say that from a pastoral leadership perspective, I think those conversations, you need to have someone that that's qualified to have those conversations, but with the stipulation that we're definitely not advocating, participating in, because believe it or not, whether we tell them or not, most of these young people, they have some exploration going on in their mind. They're not virgins in their mind. So, we walk around like our heads in the sand, that, hey, look, you guys, if I was talking to my kids, hey, man, you guys know what's going on here. But at the end of the day, we don't believe in this, and we don't do this. And this is why. These are the repercussions. And you talk about all the why we don't do it and what we're trying to stand for and so forth. But yeah, these young folks know. You got kids. I was teaching down in a place 30 years ago. A 6th grade girl got pregnant. You know what I'm saying? A 6th grade girl, elementary. So, people are doing it. They're having oral sex in bathrooms and all this stuff. So it's not like, these kids don't know what's going on. And with the internet and so forth, so you don't want to, I agree with what you're saying. You don't want to feed that thing where they can just take it and say, okay, and saying, hey, yeah. Because, but what I'm trying to say is, without you feeding it, they're still not oblivious to what's going on. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but I think that what I'm hearing you say actually comes from a place of abnormal use or abuse, because they don't have the knowledge base in order to make the best informed decision when it comes to their sexuality. And so I think an abstinence message is something that youth need to have. They need to have conversations around it, but knowing that abstinence is the best choice for them. And that's just abstaining from any at-risk behavior. That's alcoholism, drug use, just abstaining from until appropriate times, and understand what that, giving yourself the latitude to create for yourself a safe space in order to understand what your latitude is in any of those spaces. Because depending on where your line of belief and teaching is, some people teach against the consumption of alcohol. Some people teach that the consumption of alcohol in moderation is okay within the kingdom. Some people, don't have problems with the consumption of marijuana as a substance, and some people have issue with marijuana as a substance as Christians. And so you have these, we have these conversations that we are still at war with, that we're debating on, but what I'm saying is to youth, I would say that the abstinence conversation would probably be the best. I talked to one young lady, she was pregnant, she was over at one of the alternative high schools, and we were at the table and we were inviting them to sign up for our abstinence group. And she was like, well, it's too late, I already got a baby. I was like, well, do you want to have another one? No. I said, well, then you need to sign up for the group. Because the reality is that you think that just because you had something that now you have an understanding of it, and you still don't. You just have something now you got to deal with. But if you never get an understanding on what the steps that it took that got me here, then you're going to bow to do the same thing all over again.
Well said.
Right. Real. Because you're building habits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, while we dealing with the youth on this, and I'm loving this. Let's say I'm dating, if I'm in my teens to early adulthood, but I'm always prone to cheat. Man or woman, always got to have me somebody on the side, always got to have me a backup plan, always have me an emergency. And I have this mindset that that's okay because that's my safe zone. Getting married, is that alone going to dissolve that attitude? Does marriage clear up all of your, I want to say this, the vow of marriage, clear up all the bad habits, not across his marriage line, all that just fell off. Does that happen like that, or is there another dynamic that's involved with this?
Nope, because I still struggle with communication. I struggle with communication when I was dating, and I struggle with communication in marriage. So it's not a fix-all thing at all.
Most assuredly. If anything, it exacerbates and actually creates greater struggles in your covenant, since you didn't deal with it before you said I do.
I agree with you guys. It's just like when you get salvation, getting saved. That doesn't take away everything. It's a process, but like you say, it doesn't just it doesn't dissolve. Once I'm married now, you're not just want to, no. There could be some things if you had a renewal mind and some changes in your, a lot of things have changed in you on a deeper level, spiritually and so forth. But that's where it all comes from. You have to make that decision, and God has to help you, and then you can change, because with God all things are possible. But just for the sake of getting married, that type of thing, no, that's just not the answer. You have to have help from the Lord.
All right on that. Go ahead, Austin. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say, I think it's unfair to whoever you're marrying, right? Because this is this thing that you've kind of swept under the rug and chalked up and said, all right, I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be. And you never have that honest conversation with that person you're marrying about it, right? So now you go into this marriage and you cheating, infidelity. She was like, wait, what am I doing? What's going on? And come to find out, this is a 25, 15-year-old skeleton that you've had in your closet, and now she's just now finding about it after marriage. And it's like, bro, why would you marry her knowing that you haven't dealt with that yet? And so that's unfair to whoever you're marrying.
That ain't even a skeleton, man. That's still a full-grown man.
and then too, that's like Danielle hit it. It's like, that's why it's so important that people need to get premarital counseling. But they say don't go into this unadvisedly. You need to go and do some research. And if all of a sudden, people can spring things up on you, don't get me wrong. But if you there should be signs. There has to be questions asked. Do some research. And we all have, I won't say we all, sometimes you can get blinded. But at the end of the day, it's not going to change unless that person, wants to make a change with help, renewal mind, get a nature change. At the end of the day, if your nature's not changed, you know, that snake is still going to bite you because that's his nature.
Yeah, this is a transparent moment, but as a Christian, like in my first marriage, when my wife passed away, I had to get myself chastened again, because you're married and sex is legal, and now your sex partner is not there anymore, and now you're single, but you have these urges. Now you got to chasten your body again, and I didn't do that well. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. It was a struggle to get myself back up under control. And it was so important that your relationship with God is so key, because if you are really listening to the Father, he will guide you through things. I heard the Lord tell me that if you don't deal with your issues of loneliness, you'll hide in relationships for the rest of your life. And so it was loneliness that I was battling with and trying to fill my loneliness with someone. And I was willing to bring somebody into my world and mess their world up, trying to fix something that was going wrong in my own world. I told you, I'm not trying to bring anybody into my space and blow their spot up because I'm jacked up. I'm a man that needed to be in covenant. I did not need to be out in the world, because it would be an issue. it would be an issue.
King David.
I see men and young men, y'all take note of that, because he was very candid. You really need to deal with yourself before you try to bring anybody else in on that. And see, this makes me think too, because I was always prone to cheat when I was dating prior to marriage. And I'm gonna be honest, that attitude does not leave you. You still have those same tendencies. You still have those same desires to talk to somebody new, flirt, have that random conversation, feel like you still got it, feel like you still desirable and hot. So the idea is you really need to define how you look at even your dating. You need to look at, okay, am I just out here playing, or am I really trying to find somebody to actually settle down with and build a life around? So I think that it really needs to be a redefining in our own minds. What is dating? It's not about taking somebody out, getting them a meal so we can smash. That's not dating. That's just having sex. You pay for that. And really, you did pay for that. So really, I think there just really needs to be a meeting of the mind about what your definition is and really what you're after. That's it right there. But we hit on this one a little bit ago, but I want to go a little bit more in depth on it. Let's say I'm a man or I'm a woman. I'm in a relationship, but I'm married, okay? Because I'm not talking, you single people ain't got no business dealing with this, so y'all get left out of this one. But I'm horribly unsatisfied sexually. My spouse isn't giving me any, we got this for whatever the reason. Could have been me messing up, could have been them. Is using porn or fantasy of any sort to keep me from going out, is that a good reason to scratch my itch with? Is that something I can use as a side retort, just so I don't have to, bring no STDs home?
So it sounds like you're asking two questions, because first you're asking, is masturbation okay in the construct of marriage? That's the first question I'm hearing.
Hey, dig deep.
Oh,
dig deep.
Okay, we're round back. Okay.
And the second one is pornography something that I should use in order for me to be able to not step out on my significant other?
But let's say your mate's not involved in it.
Your mate's not involved.
Self-pleasure.
This is just you.
Right? No.
Like, hey,
I said so that you don't step out on your significant other. So
okay.
that you don't step out on your significant other.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's not the constraint of marriage to me.
Okay.
But I'm gonna let y'all hit that on that and I'll give y'all my thought.
Gotcha.
I would say no, definitely no, because the Bible talks about don't look on certain things in certain ways. There are some things we just shouldn't put our eyes on. You know what I'm saying? If you're unfulfilled and you need that to get you fulfilled, you're really breaking out outside of marriage right now. because like I say, your mind is into some other person besides your spouse. You see what I'm saying? And then, okay, you're gone there. And first of all, the question would be, I don't know, you might have put this in the question, is your wife aware of it? And secondly, if she's not aware of it, those are two different dynamics. But I would just say, no, I'm not going to point any reason to go that direction. No, I'm gonna leave it right there. I'll let you wise gentlemen add to that.
So first thing I'm realizing that we may want to put a X sensor on this conversation. That's the the second thing is that I had an issue with pornography growing up. 14 years old, had my sister's, boyfriend had a whole collection. And I just had a smorgasbord, and I just dived in. And I'm a visual person, so even when I didn't have it in front of me, I could close my eyes and actually see the images, or even when I'm not trying to see the images and I'm just talking, images just pop up, and I could see, I could have an open vision of things that I had actually seen before. And so my journey towards deliverance from pornography and masturbation, because they go hand in hand. No pun intended.
No, yeah, right, okay.
Was one where I had to actually go through a renewing of my mind, renewing my spirit, getting my body basically into alignment. So my point is that I have been aware of me, and so when we talk about this particular aspect in the context of covenant, I had to be upfront with my wife and just let her know, like, okay, this was a struggle, I'm saying, of me touching myself, and I don't want to go down that path. I don't want to go back there because it was a dark place for me, and I don't want to go back into that space. I don't know where it is for other people, and so that's why I say, are we talking about masturbation, or are we talking about pornography? Because like I said, they're in the same camp. You can't really separate the two. And so I think it's self-love. I think it is I think, again, to your point, Jonathan, it's a conversation you want to have, but you're afraid to have because it requires you as a man to be intimate and transparent, to have them look into you and see something, and you don't want them to see that side of you, so you try to self-medicate yourself. Whereas if she is your covenant partner, that place of intimacy is not just sexual, it's actually her being able to know your most intimate fears, your most intimate secrets, and you're entrusting us with it. I think again, I know I'm oversharing in this particular space, but I'm simply saying is I think it's not a good tool to use in order to solve that problem.
Okay. And this may not be the greatest example. Go ahead. This may not be the greatest example. Let's think about King David with Bathsheba. In a sense, he got to look in, and he didn't have the magazine per se, but he got a good visual, and it worked him pretty good. It worked him pretty good. Yes.
Yeah, the window view. He didn't need no magazine.
There you go. And we saw the end of that result there.
See, that was my point, is that, it's not so much that your wife is in agreement with you. This is just you, because you're not fulfilled by her, looking to get that fulfillment, but in a fantasy, it's not really giving it to, but this is what you want, and this is what you're after. So to me, I think the way that you approach that, it can be a wrong thing, because all you're doing is pouring gas on a fire.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop you from wanting other women. Right. It's only going to increase your desire more. I can say that because, well, Daniel, you said 14. Man, I'm going to take you to 12 years old. And all it did was make me just want women.
Right.
And that was all, like Adidas. All day I dream about sex. That was it. So all you're doing is building up a desire that naturally you're not going to be able to quench. Now, if you take the right route, you have a conversation with your mate, Maybe y'all need to get some counseling. But a lot of times that's something that you maybe need to open that door up, get a third party in, get some more advice on it. But at the same time, that's not a way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, and let me balance this too. Because you have some women out there too, that this thing works both ways. Women have some, some unique things that they can do, and the man may never know. And in my pastoral counseling, sometimes one of my bishops, I had a conversation with one time, and he wouldn't go into detail, but because you can't give up anybody's business. But he said, "That's Crawford. These men come in here, but you'd be surprised. Everybody ain't batting 1,000. These men think they are batting 1,000, and these women got some stories too of some things that are going unfulfilled
across the board.
You see, exactly. See, so but so I would just say, whether married or single, I would say stay away from it.
Yeah, the sexual I want to say. Well, just that disconnect. It's really, like you hit it down. That's communication. Y'all really need to talk. You need to talk. You need to come to the table with what I like. What do you like? Ask. I mean, swallow our pride and ask. You want to be fulfilled in the bedroom? You want to not have to go outside? You want to be able to keep it in house? Open up your mouth. That's it.
Yeah. What y'all said is exactly
no pun intended.
Y'all tripping.
You know what? Depending on how you look at it. We grown. Depending on how you look at it.
Y'all tripping. But no, what y'all just said is exactly what I was gonna say, man. It's like, are you doing what you need to do, as a man, as a husband, to make sure that your wife is fulfilled, right? I mean, because if you don't have those conversations, you just got two unfulfilled people trying to, enjoy intimacy with each other, and intimacy is not just sex, right? It's like our conversational needs, financial needs, cleanliness needs, right? Like our running errands. Like, are you just doing those small things that she appreciates that can give you a big reward later in the evening? So it's more than just what you need. It's what everybody needs. So
this might be a topic. I like that one. Yeah.
But I'm gonna say this: real intimacy is selfless and it's open. So I think that's where a lot of people miss out really on intimacy is. And it's really just having that safe space. We put intimacy with sex too much. And really it's just being safe, being comfortable, having that soft zone, that landing spot. So every couple needs to build toward that. But a lot of times start building toward that without the sex. Too many relationships I feel too many good relationships I feel have gotten ruined because the first thing that's pursued is the sex. You want to hit it, you want to see how I feel, you want to see what it do, but you don't have any meeting of the mind. So naturally right there, you're already putting the car in reverse and driving on the wrong side of the road. But I'm gonna let that fly.
It's real simple. You hit it right there. You said too many relationships getting ruined because of sex. Like you say, wait till you get married. That's the key thing. That's the first thing. Wait, and then hopefully you've had all those conversations, had all those discussions and so forth. At least you will have a better idea. But now in society today, no, I gotta drive the car. I gotta test the car. You know what I'm saying? Everything's going against God's order. You know what I'm saying? And that's a big problem from the gate. But that's a different.
Yeah, I'll also throw in there is that you have a responsibility that if you feel that the romance or the sexual attraction or attention in that relationship is waning, that as a man, you have two things to do. One, take the matter before the Father. That's the first thing. Yeah. Two, pursue your wife. We talk all the time about, love language stuff and previous episodes. Go back and look at our February 14th episode that we did, with our wives. Want to encourage you guys to go back to that one and other ones that we've talked about in relationships in season 1. It's important that, you get around these conversations, because the reality of it is that, your responsibility, instead of you stepping out, you need to step up. Maybe that's not something that you are doing. Maybe, how is she able to not resist you when you first started dating, but now you repel her now that you're married. You need to go back to the beginning and find out what you were doing. That's a good starting point, you know, for anyone. Well, I used to, you know, take her out. When was the last time you took her out? When was the last time you bought her roses? When was the last time you swept her away for a weekend excursion just because? You know what I'm saying? When was the last? That is the questions that we need to start asking ourselves, and then start putting solutions into those spaces. And you'll find that as you start walking towards that engagement aspect, you'll start seeing those things come back. You'll start seeing, you know, her smile instead of frown. You'll start seeing her, you know, come close instead of walk away. You know, it's your responsibility as a man to seek her out. You know, the Bible says, he that finds a good wife finds a good thing. And it's always you in the pursuit of, it's you in the search of. And so if you're not finding it, it's not go out and find someone else that's easy to please. It's like, no, redefine the relationship that you're currently in.
Definitely. Great point. Now let's bring this home. I'm a man or I'm a woman. Okay. I cheated. I'm in a marriage or I'm single. So we're gonna look at this from both ends. I'm in a committed relationship and I'm single, or I'm married. I got caught and all hell broke out. But I want to work things out. Do I have a shot?
Yes.
And what would you tell me as far as having my shot? Help me shoot my shot.
Yeah. There's always hope. There's always hope. You know, you have to confess, you know, repent, and then you have to make a change, and then you have to be patient because there's hurt feelings involved.
Yes.
She may not accept you back, or he may not accept you back right away. A little bit different layers and levels. If you're married, could be more difficult. Not saying it necessarily have to be, but there's more at stake. She may not be more apt to leave you or whatever, but then again, she may shut you down and you're there in the marriage. Could tempt you to do it again. So there's a lot of different dynamics, but short answer is because I want to give you guys, other guys, some time. Yeah, there's always hope, man. Yeah, there's always hope. I believe that.
There's a difference between restitution and restoration. And I think it depends on if the person wants it to be restored. You
That's
know?
key.
So if the person wants for it to be restored, then there's hope. Even if the person wants for it to be restored, there's still, to Pastor Malcolm's point, a latitude of time. And it's not based on your time schedule, it's based on that person, because you're restoring not only trust, but you're rebuilding something that has really been broken and shattered. Right. And so it's like you can, the Carnegie family were the steel company in America. And so they were the first to build the first steel bridge. And people didn't trust the steel bridge, even though they were building steel bridges. And so what they did was that they had an elephant walk across the bridge. And the statement was basically, if it could support an elephant, it could support me. Just because you build something and you know that it's sturdy doesn't mean that people still trust it. And so it's important that even though you're doing all the right things, there's still a latitude of time that it takes. It's a curve that it takes for that person because that person is going to take that first step. And those steps may be a year, maybe 2 years. It may be 3 and 4 years. You know, it may be after your kids have graduated and gotten married, and you meet them back later on in life and you get married again, you know, but you don't know what that restoration time comes in, because everybody is different and you don't know the time frame it takes for somebody to be restored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't have experience in this, but you know, I definitely think it can be fixed. But if it doesn't be fixed, make sure that you're doing whatever you need to do to make sure that you're whole. So if it doesn't work and you go into that next relationship, you don't have that same lingering issue going into another relationship. And you shouldn't be trying to, I guess, work on yourself to be with somebody. You should be working on yourself to make sure that you're good and you're whole and you're in a better place, so you don't make those same mistakes. So
yeah. And to your point, man, people go into different relationships all the time with that hurt heart, unhealed heart, and it carries over and bleeds over into other relationships. And, you know, so that excellent point.
Now I'm gonna answer this both ways. From a ex-cheater, as a single person, you always have to ask yourself, okay, I got caught. Do I really want this relationship? That's the first thing you need to ask yourself. Then you have to look at your pattern. So if this is a pattern of yours, you have to ask yourself, why is this my pattern? That's something that me personally took me years later to really examine that, but I had to look at why this is my pattern, why I felt like it was not good enough just to be with one person at a time. Even if my commitment lay heavier with one, why was it still okay to have a backup plan? So that's something that you really need to kind of look inside of your own heart and see what exists in you to root that out if you're a single person. So you don't carry that mindset over into marriage. Now, as far as marriage is concerned, you've upped the ante. You're in contract status now. And like Danielle said, you really got to start from scratch. The foundation that you built originally, you got to build a new one, because those pieces are broken. Those pieces are tattered. This is not saying it can't be restored. God is merciful if you do the right things too, and if your mate agrees to work it out with you. But your sense of honesty, your forthcoming, and your being humble, I mean, being able to talk about it, being able to fess up, answer the hard questions, when you sit up there sweating bullets, all that's going to be key, because if this is what you want, you really got to lay it out on the table that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to build this back new. So that's the mindset you got to go in with it. Now, if you're not willing to fight it out like that, then I'll be honest, step back, let them go, because you're only going to add damage to it by trying to hide it more, trying to cover it up more as you go. That's only going to do damage. It's all going to come out. The Bible says it clearly, and I wish I had realized this a long time ago. What's done in the dark will be brought into the light. So especially in marriage, that's why so many people get caught, because God honors that. So don't think that you're tipping around, and even if you do get busted, you're only halfway giving your reasons behind it. That's going to fly. That's not going to work. So just be honest, be upfront, bring counseling into it. That's so helpful. A lot of times we can't solve things just back and forth. We need to have some type of mediation, somebody that can show us steps to healing so that can really be done. And from there, yeah, I really believe you can save your marriage, but it takes work. It takes work.
And if as the old school song says, if it doesn't work, like the Manhattan say, let's just kiss and say goodbye. I did that for
I ain't never had nobody want to kiss me. You better believe it. But gentlemen, I will say, this has been a great conversation. And to our viewers, we hope this has really been a helpful conversation. You know, we're honest because we just want to see everybody healthy. We want to see you grow in your relationships. We want to see you be the best that you can be. We just want to see you fulfill your life. So definitely, if you've enjoyed this, which I know we have, like the video, share it out, and definitely subscribe to Mancode. Because even though we're wrapping up season 2, we'll be back with another one. So if you subscribe, you can get the notification that when we're back, hop in and just be ready to hit the dynamic even harder. But until we hit it again, thank everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Definitely subscribe, like, share. We will see you on season 3 of the Mancode podcast. Keep it real. We'll see you later.
For real conversations.
All day.